Like sir, you list the judiciary, the government, information commissioners as that. What about the civil society? Isn't that like the Prime Minister seems to say that there's so much a burden, people are asking so many questions, the system will crumble down. So do you agree that the civil society itself is a threat to advance of
No,
So
statement that
that
I
seemed to be the impression given by the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister, also some other people have talked of it. I don't think that is correct.
Okay.
It is the result of the government not fulfilling its promise under Section 4, not computerizing its operations as promised in Section 41A.
Yeah.
Secondly, I do not think, I've done rough back of the pad calculations, and they do not seem to indicate that any great amount of time is being spent on RTI by government. And the benefits, like you yourself mentioned, Crawford Market alone,
Yes.
exposure alone, saved about 1,000 crores of public money. And there are various other things that have happened. My guess is, in the last 7 years, it is unlikely that the total governmental expense on providing information in RTI would exceed 1,000 crores.
Only.
Would exceed. So that in itself is more than adequate to make up for any expense that is there. And the basic idea is transparency will lead to a better democracy, will lead to a better governance, lesser corruption. These are gains that are of immense value.
So what they seem to argue is, the normal favorite bureaucratic argument is, we are so busy giving RTI replies that we have no time to do any other work.
Well, I mean, okay, there are two things. There may be some officers who were never doing any work. So even the some work that they have to do may seem excessive. By and large, I don't think this is a valid explanation or a valid, there may be some exceptions to this rule. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying none of them.
What must be that percentage of PIOs? 3%, 4%? Yeah.
No, number of officers, I'm looking, see, I've done a calculation, as I said, which showed that no more than about 4% of the total government officers would be spending more than about 4% of their time. Now, within that, it may happen that 50 officers or 500 officers across the country may actually be overburdened. I'm not disputing that. So, individually you may say, okay, there are 500 officers. That is a question of the administration
Maybe
distributing.
could be appointed.
That's right. They have to distribute. I mean, proper management has to be done. If there is a very heavy load on one officer, that has to be redistributed.
Yes.
But if I look at it as a macro scale, I don't think this is true at all.
So you have come across so many cases of PIOs, giving information, not giving information. Can you generalize, normally in how many, what is the percentage of cases where the PIOs did a good job and where they failed?
See, it's not just the PIO's job. This is linked to how the information is available in the entire structure.
I'll rephrase my question. Where information ought to have been given, but the system failed and the information was not given.
Okay, you see, out of about 20,400 cases,
Yeah.
my own guess is that I would probably rate 8 to 10,000 as failures.
Okay. And this would be the same general statistics for other information commissioners also.
I cannot make a definitive comment, but I see no reason for it to be very different. And I had penalized.
So almost half the cases information is not given, you feel,
That's
where it ought to have been given.
where I believe because of systemic issues, overall inefficiency. In fact, what I have discovered is a lot of problems in government are because of sheer inefficiency.
Not because they want to hide deliberately.
No, I mean, that is there, but that is a smaller part. Major part of governmental failure, in my opinion, is complete inefficiency, lack of proper systems. A lot of things that citizens attribute to corruption.
Yes.
There is corruption, I'm not denying that. But I'm saying a lot of them is just because of complete inefficiency. Incidentally, I had penalized 521 penalties, which is perhaps one of the largest number of penalties imposed by any.
But still, sir, like if you found 20,000 cases where they didn't give information.
No, 10,000. I said
10,000,
about
yeah.
10,000.
500 would be just 0.5% what you penalize.
No, it's not 0.5%. It's higher than that. My point is, you have to identify a person who is guilty.
Okay.
When it's an entire systemic issue, let's say 5 officers, each one is delayed by 10 days.
Difficult to find out who exactly was it.
How do you penalize somebody? So, and penalty is a salutary effect. Overall governance is poor. But what I believe RTI will do is slowly it will push up the performance levels. It will force government officers, because if a government officer earlier was satisfied with the inefficient way of working, some of them at least will now start questioning and saying this is not acceptable. You know, we can't deliver. So I see right to information as a slow process, slowly impacting government and governance into performing much better, and of course reducing corruption on the side.
So, which are the judgments which you rendered, which you feel has made a difference on the RTSE?
Well, there are lots of them. A lot of them were related to Section 4. I was focused on
The voluntary disclosure by the government.
That's right. And also the law provides that the commission can specifically direct a public authority to give certain kinds of information suo moto. For example, I had issued orders that everybody who applies for ration card, their list name should come up, date on which ration card was given should come up on the website. If it was rejected, reason should be given on the website. Similarly, for hospitals where poor patients must be treated, I had ordered that every evening the list of hospitals which are supposed to give this treatment and the patients occupying those beds must be put up on the website. So there are many such measures by which I was able to ensure that suo moto disclosure could become a norm, helping to create a certain facilities for citizens.
Did you get support of the other commissioners, or you were a lone man fighting a battle? Because you are RTI activist. Did they share your mindset?
Well, not really, if I may be honest. They did not oppose anything I did. And the commissioner, as a commissioner, you can operate independently. You give your own decisions. So I do not think it was supportive, nor was it opposing. I mean, it was indifferent, if I may put it in a certain manner.
Sir, would you say the selection of RTI commissioners, it is fairly independent, or is it politicized?
It is completely flawed. There is no process. The government selects a clerk with a better process than it selects an information commissioner. And not just information commissioners, this applies to most of the kinds of commissioners that I appointed. This is done through a process of patronage, sifarishbazi. 90%, 95% of it is done like that. My case, you may ask, how did I get selected? I did not get selected through sifarishbazi, but it was a very funny random event.
We took it like it was a miracle when they appointed RTI activists like you.
Yeah, but that was again, as I said, it was a random event. It was not a thought out process at all. We need a transparent and better process for selecting commissions of all kinds.
Like what specifics you would suggest to have a better process? Because we are facing a problem in Goa now.
I am aware.
Every time somebody is appointed, there is a challenge. Rightly challenges also, people have to retire.
My feeling is, what I've suggested a multiple step process to the, I'm trying to suggest it to the Supreme Court also, saying that first there must be norms for how much output each commissioner should give. You must start with some norm. I'm proposing 5,000, but if it's not 5,000, 4,500.
Yes.
Then you must assess each commission every 6 months, must put out a report saying last 6 months, this is the number of cases we got, this is how we disposed, this is our projection for the next 2 years. Based on that, you will come up with a requirement for commissioners, supposing some commissioner is retiring or likely to be. So you then decide how many commissioners you decide. There are commissions where I know, for example, Arunachal Pradesh, where at one time there were less than 100 appeals in a year and about 6 commissioners. So this is not a desirable situation. Based on this prediction, 4 months before a requirement, the government should advertise and allow people to nominate or apply. Then my proposition is that a shortlist can be created based on the written applications, and a public interview must be held in front of people by a small committee, which would then assess and recommend 2 or 3 times the number required to be kept. And there is a committee specified in the law which can do the final selection.
So you have been really a one-man army fighting. I am told that you have not joined any NGO also, and the reason you say is you want to make a point that one person can really fight out the things. Is it really possible? Don't you feel defeated sometimes?
No, I believe the only thing that can really impact, or one of the roots of democracy, is the concept of each individual citizen being a sovereign and taking responsibility for the nation, himself or herself. In fact, I'd like to share a story with you.
Please, sir.
The story I'm going to tell you happened 5,000-6,000 years back. It was Amavasya, the night when there is no moon. It was evening time and people had gathered at a beach to watch the sunset. Watching a sunset is a beautiful sight. You have shades of yellow, gold, orange, wisps of clouds. While these people were watching, they saw the sun going down, down, and then only the last rim of the sun could be seen, and people thought that in the next 1 or 2 minutes the sun would set. The sun didn't set. They waited 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The sun seemed to have frozen. There was panic. People felt a major catastrophe would overcome the world. A little girl of 6 picked up courage and asked the sun. She said, Lord Sun, we are all worried. Why are you not setting? Why is nature undergoing a change? And the sun said, today it's Amavasya, and therefore I'm worried. When I set, there may be complete darkness. One little lamp, which had some oil in it, said, Lord, give me your spark, and I will light up. And even if one lamp is there, it cannot be complete darkness. The sun gave the spark to this lamp. The sun set. And this little lamp in turn gave its spark to many other lamps. And that, my friend, was the first Deepavali. I'm hoping one lamp anywhere, one citizen anywhere, will help a lot of other individual citizens realize their potential to doing something for our country. And that would be our Deepavali for our democracy.
Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you.
Sir, with efforts of kind of people like you, we are sure sun will never set over right to information in India.
All of
Thank
us
you so
will
much.
work
Thank
to
you.
it. Thank you. Thank you.